Hello and welcome to this episode of Floductivity. Today I'm interviewing Brittany Bento. She is a 29-year-old psychic, tarot card reader, and developing medium. She has such a wonderful energy and spirit on TikTok. She makes you feel like she's your bestie card reader. She has been fascinated by the spirit realm since she was a child and wants nothing more than sharing the world with anyone curious to listen. So much so that she has a YouTube and podcast. Can't wait to get started. See you on the other side. Welcome to Floductivity, a place to inspire and empower beings to embrace self-love and self-development for an achievable balance of productivity. I share different ways to come back to your intuition through spirituality, self-care, human design, cycle planning, wellness, and everything in between. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you've been here with me before, thank you so much for coming back. I'm so excited to join you in this journey as we learn together. Hi, Brittany. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to dive in.
Well, one of my favorite questions I ask all my guests is, what are your favorite self-care practices that are important to you?
I love that. I have a few. For one would be, I love going on walks. I love going for walks by myself. I plug in, I call it like my high vibe playlist, just music that puts me in a really good mood. Sometimes just like quiet meditative music as well. And I just am really present in the moment. You know, I try to take in everything around me, just enjoy being outside as long as it's not raining, because where I live, it rains quite a bit. But if it's nice outside, definitely go for a walk. Meditation, working out. I love to go to the gym. It's kind of my way of getting out all of my whatever it is that I've got built up. Those would be like a couple off the top of my head, but I definitely have, I guess, a few more as well, but those would be, I guess, my top three.
I love that. I'm very much into nature and being outside, so that is one of mine. And I've recommitted to having like this toolkit that I have to do one of these things for at least 20 minutes a day, and walking outside, meditating are definitely a part of that. So I love those. It's really important to have that like mind-body connection and just make sure we're processing what we're going through.
Yeah, no, it's so important because it's so easy to get wrapped up in the day-to-day work, this, that, appointments, you know what I mean? And it's easy for, you to blow through a day and then you're like, where did the day go? You didn't even spend any time on yourself. And I always tell people self-love is key. You know what I mean? It's so, so, so important. So make time for yourself. If you're not making time for yourself, I highly recommend putting in, even if it's just like 20 minutes a day, make that time. It's essential.
It is. That was my biggest factor in my spiritual awakening, was I kept thinking that like I always had to take care of everybody else first, and then I was depleted and I was losing my essence. And so biggest factor for me was that reconnection of self-love, of making myself a priority and then stepping into that. So I highly agree with that connection with yourself.
Yeah, no, you have to make yourself a priority because like you said, you'll just deplete yourself and then you're left with nothing. And if you're left with nothing, how can you can't give to others, right? So it's making sure you're full first. And then, it's like that bucket analogy, right? Like you can't pour water into anybody else's bucket if yours is depleted. It's cheesy, but it's true.
It is. I was burnt out before I had my spiritual awakening, and it was because I kept thinking it was like a selfish act to focus on myself, but I revived myself.
And you know what? I talk about that all the time. We are made to feel guilty for being selfish. And I think we should be more selfish. Everybody should be more selfish. I don't think it's anything, where you should feel guilty. You're the only person you're with for the rest of your life. Truly. You have to be selfish. You have to make sure you are happy. And the happier you are, the more full you are. You will naturally be able to give more and you'll want to give more because you won't be as burnt out. So be selfish. I tell people that don't feel guilty for being selfish. You have to be.
Yeah, definitely. I did a podcast episode of like why being selfish is important. so that everybody else can see how you shine. So
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
So, to all the listeners, I came across you from TikTok and I absolutely love the energy you bring. And I would like to know when you started to use TikTok as your like strategy to kind of get your voice and your words out there, and how long after you started using that as a strategy you started to attract like your followers, your people, your tribe.
Yeah, no, I love that question. When I started TikTok, honestly, it wasn't to build anything at all. I started it during COVID, like a lot of people did when there wasn't much else to do. I actually hated TikTok at first. I have 3 younger siblings. My youngest sister is 10 years younger than me. So I'm in a completely different generation than, most of my siblings. And I'm like, what is this silly thing, where people just dance? I'm like, this is dumb. I did not like it. And then I got the app because, bored. And I started, before I even started posting anything, I was scrolling through and I realized that once you started liking videos, they started sending you more content of what you were interested in. So that's when I realized, I was like, oh, okay, it's not only dancing videos. Don't get me wrong, I love dancing, but that's all I thought it was at the beginning. And then from there, I actually just started posting recipe videos. I'm a big foodie. I love cooking. It's another passion of mine. So I started posting that just for fun because I liked it. And one day randomly, I was like, I'm going to post a reading just to post a reading because, why not? It's a part of who I am. And I don't know. I didn't mean anything behind it. I just wanted to post it. And I guess the video got quite a bit of attention. It blew up more than I realized. And I was like, oh, like maybe this is a sign. Maybe I should start posting more. So I just started posting more videos. I started posting dowsing rod videos, card readings, and from there it just kind of grew. It wasn't really anything I planned. I didn't get TikTok for the point of that. You know what I mean? It was just kind of an outlet for me in a way, just another social media app that I enjoyed. And it just organically grew and it changed my life essentially. And so I'm super grateful for it. And that's another thing I could get into is I was miserable. I was a teacher. A couple of years ago, I hated my job. I was not in a good place. And I asked the universe, I was like, help me. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I didn't know how to get out. So I didn't have a plan. I wasn't like, okay, I'm going to get TikTok. I'm going to gain a following and then I'm going to do this. The universe it organically happened because I asked for help and because I was just sharing passions of mine. And from there, it grew into something I didn't expect it would. But like I said, I'm super grateful for it. And, I'm living a different life now as a result of it. So
were you doing readings as a part of your income at the time, or was it something that you were doing for fun when you posted that?
no, it was just for fun. So I'm in Canada too. So we don't get money off of TikTok at all. Like we don't have the creator fund thing. So I don't get any money off of any of my videos. I was not doing readings for public. I was just doing like little ones for my friends, like no charge or anything like that. And then there was a point of time where I started offering readings because people were asking and asking, but it was just too much with teaching and doing these readings on the side. I was just burnt out from teaching in and of itself. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. It was too much. So I was just teaching, just posting my videos just because, and it started growing. My account started growing even more. And this last year, actually, I quit teaching in September. So September was my last month of teaching and I dove into offering readings full time for the public because of the platform I have now, I am able to do that. So I'm super grateful. And so this is, I guess, offering readings to the public is more new for me. But I'm loving every minute of it. So
that's awesome. And I love the idea of surrendering to the universe. I am like a recovering control freak. And so having that surrender is really hard for me. But I found the most beautiful experiences, resources, people have come into my life when I'm like, show me the next step. I'm not going to control the how. I'm just going to allow it to come in. So that's beautiful.
No, totally. And that's what I tell people because as humans too, it's like we like to know exactly how we're going to get there, when we're going to get there, this and that. I'm like, if you're too rigid with the how, the when, the this, the that, you're going to be blocking out what the universe has planned for you. And what the universe has planned for you is often bigger than what you have planned for yourself. So it is surrendering and it's not easy. It's not easy to do that. But once you're able to, your life will change.
Yeah. And just being open to like what you're seeing or feeling, like however it comes to you. And I think that's one thing in the spiritual world, just talking about the different clairs. And so some people
Mm-hmm.
are like, what do you envision? So knowing how it might come to you is kind of important. But that was something that opened my eyes up a little bit. I was in my own personal journey. I was having a really hard time in life. I was a hairstylist for 19 years.
Wow.
And while I loved the concept of it, I was burnt out. My health was
Mm,
declining. And during lockdown, I took a course. And one of the things, it was a course for hairstylists. And one of the things that this course did was you did a vision board of, your future. And not
mm-hmm.
one thing on my vision board had anything to do with hair. And
Wow.
that was my moment
Mm,
of saying, like, this might be time to let
yeah.
that go.
Oh, I'm
So
getting chills. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. That was, almost 3 years ago. And I'm a big component of vision boards. I'm toying the idea of maybe doing workshops and stuff around it because
Mm-hmm.
this vision board that I created, like, I'm going to start crying thinking about it. But like, I created this vision board and it has translated to something that I never thought possible. And while it's still in the works,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy that like if you just start putting your visions in a place and you
Mm-hmm.
look at it and you let it
Mm-hmm.
resonate and see if it still is aligned with what you want and you just keep
Yeah.
building on it, it's such a beautiful thing. And I have my original vision board still up in my office, but I've turned the
Oh,
concept digital just
okay.
because I'm such a digital creator, but like it's a way that I can continually update it and
Yeah.
add those things. So
No, I love that. And, one thing that I've done before, I actually kind of want to do again is I don't have it right now, but creating it on like my phone and putting it as my screen background. Do you know what I mean? So even if it's subconscious, you're looking at it all the time. I love vision boards too, but for someone like me, I'm super busy to go. I don't own a printer, you know what I mean? To get the photos printed, to buy the this, the that, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But unless somebody like puts it together for me and is like, okay, here's all the materials you need. Here are all the photos printed out for you. Go at it. I would love to do that. But for me to put all of those in play, just being realistic with myself, like I got a lot going on. It's just, the digital thing is easier and it's convenient. You just look at your phone, it's there. And yeah, or even like a Pinterest board. I do it on Pinterest. I make little Pinterest boards of like, like my dream living room or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And I love to scroll through it sometimes. And yeah, no, I love that. I'm a huge advocate for vision boards as well.
I have a template that I've like shared on TikTok just for free. But, like for me, I always I get really complicated because I get so in depth with them. I need to simplify it. But it's one of those things that, yeah, like I have it formatted so that, I can look at my phone. I can kind of just feel into it. Like, is this still aligned? And then it's just easy to change. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
I use mine on Canva. I don't know if you use Canva at all.
I don't, but I've heard of it before, so maybe I should.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like free options. And, hey, if I do a vision boarding little workshop, maybe you can come to it. And it's a
Oh,
way
I
that you
would
can
love that.
look at it on your computer or you
Hmm.
can have it on your phone. But yeah, vision boarding has changed my life.
No, I love that. No, I love that. And I'm awful with technology. So a workshop for me would probably be very helpful because I don't know what it is. Me and technology, just as weird as it sounds, because I do the whole, social media thing, but technology, it's been a learning curve. That's what I'll say.
I think that's what I found too with just like a lot of the spiritual friends that they like love the concept, but they're like, I don't know what to do with it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I do need to have a workshop about it just so that we can all step into our power because I
Oh,
think that's important.
yeah. No, if you do that, let me know because I would love to join that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so like talking about social media, it is, especially looking at my astrological chart, it is a pain point of mine and just so hard for me to overcome. I'm still having difficulty with it. I just don't know how to authentically show up as myself. But my human
Mm.
design and my astrology really point me to overcoming to this challenge to bring out my gifts. And so, in your process of using TikTok and really having that blow up, is there anything that you have advice for anyone that's really trying to show up and be themselves?
Yeah. I mean, for one, I will say I know it's not easy, because you're worried about judgment, and it's not easy because being on social media, especially the more of an audience you have, you're going to get hate. I've received a lot of hate, and that's just a part of it. So you got to build some thick skin for one. I'll give you, just like a personal example. When I first started this is before I even had, somewhat of a following. I had maybe 10,000 followers at the time, 15,000, not, an amount, but not, even close to what I'm at now. And I had this one creator who had like almost 1 million followers make a video about me because he made videos on a lot of psychics, basically saying that they're crazy, this and that. And I got thousands and thousands of comments for I had to go private because I was just being bombarded with like hate messages, people telling me to like off myself, like really, really bad. And at the time, I wasn't even offering readings to the public at all. So people are like, "You're scamming people, this and that." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm not even, I'm a teacher. Like, I'm not even offering readings. I'm literally only doing this to share, what I love to share." So honestly, that put me in a really, really dark place. And I questioned just deleting social media altogether. It was really hard because it's not easy, so you're not saying that's going to happen to you. I think kind of like that amount of hate that I received is more not as common, so don't be afraid. However, it's possible is what I want to say. So be ready to build a bit of a thicker skin. But I feel like eventually I got to the point where I'm like, screw it. You know what I mean? I am going to be myself authentically, and hate will come with that, and that is okay. If hate comes with it, I'm looking at it more so as a reflection on them. But what I've also learned is don't hold on to the comments, the good or the bad, because I need to find worth within myself first. So if someone says they hate me, okay. If someone says, they love me and they're complimenting me, like, thank you, acknowledge it. But I cannot base my worth based on the good or the bad comments because my self-worth has to come from within. So that was a learning curve for me. And, self-love, again, is key to that. Self-love is one of the biggest things in so many different aspects of your life, including authentically putting yourself out there on social media. But I do believe that being authentic is key. Be yourself because you will find your tribe. You will resonate with people who resonate with you. Not everybody will, and that's okay. So be patient with yourself in the process, but don't be worried about having your makeup look perfect or your hair look perfect. Be honest too and be authentic and just be you. And by being you, that is where you will weed out the people who are not, a part of that tribe. And again, that's okay. We are all very different. Not everybody is going to like you. So you're going to have to learn to accept that. But by being authentically you, that is where you will find those people who are a part of your tribe or whatever you want to call it. And that's where I'm getting chills as I'm saying this. And that's where you will have more of an impact, So be true to who you are. But the key to that, if you're worried about judgment, if you're worried about that, work on yourself. It comes from within. Find that work from yourself, and don't be worried about, oh, like I didn't get many likes or I didn't get many views, because your worth is not based off of that. Remember, you cannot let the good or the bad comments affect you because all of that self-worth needs to come from within. So that's kind of like the biggest thing is finding that self-love. And people might say, oh, I love myself, I do this and that, and it's a lot more complex self-love, I think, than what it's made out to be. Like, just because you go to the gym or eat healthy, that doesn't necessarily mean you fully love yourself. It's loving all parts of yourself, the parts you struggle with as well, and knowing you are worthy and not basing it from the external validation at all. So I kind of went on a rant there, but that's what I have to say to that.
No, thank you for sharing. And I think just being vulnerable about that is, a lot of times when people see other people blowing up on social media, they think like, wow, look at them. They're so lucky. Came so easily for them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of where I have difficulty is before I even started showing up on social media, I had some people that were saying some very horrible things about me. And so I had that even before I got started. So it took me a while to kind of get that momentum going and get over it. And I also had some people really close in my life kind of put me down for what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the best thing that ever could have happened to me because I was trying to prove to them that I was, like worthy of this. And once I realized they're not going to see me in this light no matter what I do, but I do think in divine timing, like when it's time for it to
Yeah.
come through, it will.
Yeah, and what I tell people too, like if TikTok's not working out for you, it's like maybe the universe has something better or something different in store for you. You know what I mean? Like it's truly, everyone's journey is truly different and you cannot compare one to another. You could be really working hard at something. I've been there where I'm working hard at something, it's not working and it's not working. And it's because I should be looking over here, or it's because there's something else that's kind of waiting to kind of take off. But I love how you talk about people close to you not supporting you, because that's something I still deal with to this day. It's weird. It's kind of like jealousy in a way, but it's also, they know who you are before this, and we're always evolving. We're always growing, right? So these people that know you, they know a piece of you. They know who you were at that time, or they know, let's say you went to school with them. They know the student you, or like the coworker you, or you know what I mean? So they have these expectations of who you are. And once you start showing different sides of yourself or this or that, it's like they don't know how to handle it. And again, it's like, you don't have to be who they thought you were. Just be authentically you. And if they're going to judge you for that, that's on them. That's a reflection of them. It's again, finding that worth within yourself and doing it anyway, and not caring if they talk about you behind your back, because some probably will. That's just the reality of it. But again, that's a reflection on them. So don't let it affect you.
Yeah, definitely. The judgment. Anytime anybody brings judgment, and if I bring up judgment as someone else, I'm like, what am I needing to learn in this? Because it has nothing to do with them if I'm getting this sense of judgment, or if someone's, bringing it on to me. So, I love that. And I feel like a lot of people in the spiritual space, when they're trying to kind of make that jump, they have that because people saw them in one way. And it's like, we are meant to grow and become something,
Exactly. And we're not, we are multifaceted beings, right? We can be, like for me, for example, there's so many different sides of me. I could be in one environment and I'll be this version of me because that's that version of me when I'm doing such and such activity. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't mean I can't be this other version of me in a different environment. You don't just be authentically yourself regardless of where you are, but there will be like, you know what I mean? It's like the professional you that will come out sometimes in like a job interview. The way you talk in a job interview is going to be different than the way you talk with your friends, but you could still be you. It's just, you know what I mean? It's that, it's interesting. But
I had to take a peek at your chart and I was like, I bet you her self energy center is open. And that's what that means, is like you will ultimately change in the different environments. But you just tend to like flow with in the different environments you are. So you are designed that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because I am very flowy like that, but just depending on who I'm around too, it's not that I'm trying to please those people. But for example, like if I'm in a group of people who are not spiritual, I'm not going to be talking about all the spirituality stuff because I know it's not going to resonate with them. So why waste my breath? It doesn't, do you know what I mean? It doesn't, I'm still going to be myself around them, but I'm just not going to show them that side of myself. And that's that,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good boundaries too. I mean, I think I wasted so much energy in my life trying to like convince people or, like this would be so great for you. And then I realized like plant the seed. And if they want to know about it, then they'll know about it. But I see so many people in their life ultimately draining their energy because ultimately they're not living in their design. They don't make their decisions the way they should. They don't take action the way they should. When they're ready to come to me to talk about these ways that they can kind of embody how they're, uniquely built with the universe. That's what I kind of feel like human design and psychovitality is. It's like when you lean into that. But most people in the spiritual space intuitively know how they're built, even even if they don't know their human design.
Right.
So I found that, at least as I go through when I talk with people. And so just you pointing that out, I'm like, yes, yep, your identity center is open, and that's just how you are. So
that makes sense. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about human design. I did have a human design expert on my podcast a while back. So she did talk about it, on the episode, but that's the extent of my knowledge. I'm super fascinated by it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's super cool. I think more people should know about their design, because I think it could also help you accept certain aspects of who you are as well, and just help understand who you are at a deeper level. So I would encourage people to look into it, but I'm going to be honest, me, myself, I don't really know much about it.
Yeah. Most people probably don't. A little piece of me is my sun in Aries is in the 9th house of self-development. So like once I came across human design, I was like, I want to know everything. I want to know it so that I can talk to people about it. But it's, not everybody's, again, built that way. But we are both manifesting generators. And I think when it like comes to the idea of a manifesting generator, it's like we have all these things and people just don't understand how we can do all these things, and they can't keep up with us, and they're like, pick one thing. We're not designed that way. And so didn't that make you feel like heard and seen, like, oh, I'm built this way, this is how I operate?
No, that's literally me. I mean, ever since growing up, like even my family's like, wait, you're doing that too? You're doing this too? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're always doing something new, and I'm like, I don't know. I just have a lot of passions, like truly, like when I do something too, it's like, I'm very passionate about it. And I'm very, I don't know, like even high school, I was a jock. Like I love sports, but I was also the musical theater geek at the same time, but I loved both and I held space for both. And even though they're very different, and that's just a random example, but I'm like that in all areas. So
yeah, we're meant to have our toe a little bit in everything. And I always think about like a manifesting generator. We might be the ones to bridge two ideas together that no one ever thought were meant to be together. So like my passion is psychovitality, like helping women understand why it's important to know about their cycle. And I also love human design. And like from an outer perspective, they do not seem like they go together, but both of them are how you operate as a person. And so I say like some pieces of human design. So your authority is how you should make decisions. You learn how to elevate your intuition. And then your strategy is how you should take aligned action. So it's just like working with your design and be able to be efficient in how you're designed. Your cycle is your standard operating procedures. So like ultimately, if you were to do a project, there's a time to plan, there's a time to do, there's a time to review, and there's a time to rest and reflect on it. Well, our cycles have those phases built in. So when you flow with your cycle, so it's just like they're totally different ways, but they like work together in a way. So that's how I bring my ultimately my manifesting generator mind together.
I love that. No, that's super interesting. And like my cycle, for example, that's something I'm wanting to learn more about too, because honestly, I don't really know, So that's like another thing that I want to, learn more about.
What if I told you your cycle could be your secret weapon for productivity and success? Using your cycle is a journey of self-discovery so that you can harness the power of your cycle and turn productivity into your superpower. Cycle vitality is aligning tasks in your home and work life to go with your flow. We aren't meant to do all the things all the time. Once you begin this process, you'll begin to feel like your menstrual cycle is not holding you back. Instead, you'll learn how to flow with the universe and tap into the power of your body's natural rhythm. Head over to karadempsey.com/cycle to get your free Cycle Vitality printables today. Yeah, our cycles are really important. And to be honest with you, my personal story was like I went on birth control at a very young age because
Mm-hmm.
of my periods being such a problem. And I was on it consistently until I had
Mm.
children. That was
Wow.
the only time I went off. And
Wow.
that's a lot of years. I'm almost
Yeah.
40. So, and it was continually. And so it wasn't until I started to detox my body during this time of my life that I was like, I don't know how to have a period. And then I saw the empowerment. I like had to teach myself what it meant and how there's 4 phases and how we are meant to have these emotional waves. We're meant to
Yeah.
kind of have all these things. And so
Mm-hmm.
it just took me having to learn about it to be like, there is so much power in it. And I use it in
Yeah.
my business. I do my content around it. Like it's such an empowering way. So
Wow.
I do have some free resources on my website that I strongly suggest. It's
Okay.
just kind of
Yeah.
a way to kind of show you the different phases and how
Yeah.
you can kind of line it up with what you're doing in your business. And so I feel like when I use my cycle, I begin to co-create with the universe. And so
Mm.
I also have the idea of the moon cycles in there too. And so you can kind of
Right.
lean in whatever resonates with you.
No, do you know what? I love that because I I mean, I'm a huge fitness freak. I did fitness bodybuilding competitions. Like I was in that world for a while. Again, very passionate person. I'm not in that world anymore, but I love going to the gym just for my own health now. But one thing that I do now is I really listen to my body because I'm like, okay, on a day I'm feeling less energy, I'm not going to push myself as hard as what I used to. Like before, I'd push through it regardless of how I felt. And hormonally, that can't be good. So now I'm like, okay, how do I feel today? And if I'm, not feeling it, maybe I'll just walk on the treadmill for half an hour. I'll go easy or I'll stretch. And other days where I'm feeling more energy, I'm like, okay, I'll lift some weights. I'll do something that will take some more energy out of me. And I just really listen to that. Because myself, I was also on birth control from, I forget how old, but a teenager because of the same thing. I had really, really heavy, painful periods, and I'm not on it anymore. So it's something that I'm wanting to like learn. So I'll definitely check out your resources that you have because that's something else that's on my list of things to research. Because also like our society is basically based on a man's hormonal schedule, right? Like the 24-hour, where us women, we work completely differently. So it's learning about it to take advantage and, so that we can be more productive when we're supposed to be and rest more when we're supposed to rest more.
Yeah, it's one of the most empowering things that I've done for myself. And I just like want to scream it from the rooftops to every woman. I've had so many people that are like, oh, I have too many period problems. And I'm like, well, if you pay attention to it, if you
Mm-hmm.
kind of nourish it, if you look at it as a place of like, hey, about a week before your period, your energy dips. It's your body
Mm-hmm.
telling you you're supposed to start resting before your period comes, not when your period comes. So it's just
Right.
being aware of your cyclical patterns. And
Mm-hmm.
so the best thing you can even do is start saying, like, I'm on day number whatever. This is how I feel. You
Oh.
start looking at the cyclical patterns of what happens days 1 through 5, days 5 through 10, and just kind of break it down from that. It's a really empowering thing to do for yourself because your body's like, oh, hey, I've been trying to communicate this with you for however long.
Mm-hmm.
And my period problems, the symptoms that I was having completely subsided when I started to pay attention or I started to give myself the nourishment around my
Mm.
cycle. There's foods that really help in your
Right.
cycle, there's workouts that help you in your cycle too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're definitely younger than I am, and I didn't see this stuff until I was more in my mid 30s. So I think that's a lot of times is like you were saying, the society sets a certain
Yeah.
precedent of how we're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be, and then once we get to our mid 30s, how many women are depleting and they're burnt out because they weren't
Yeah.
listening to their bodies that whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm turning 30 this year, and I feel like it's a sign, like us talking about it now, because a girlfriend of mine actually wrote a book. It's called The Moon Book, and I bought it. It's just it's sitting over there, and it's basically tells you like based on the moon too, like what cycle you land on. And I need to look through it more, but the universe is throwing me signs to start looking into that. So I'm taking this as another sign today.
Yes, yeah. You'll thank yourself, especially if you do it ahead of time, because there's so many people that are like, oh, maybe. I know people that are like in perimenopause, and I'm like, well, I don't have a regular cycle anymore. But I'm like, nourishing your body in a way that's like empowering you can do that at any time. You don't have to be at a certain place in your life. So yes, take it as a sign, because I swear it was the best thing I've ever done for myself. So.
Okay. Noted. Definitely
yes.
Noted.
I know I had read somewhere that you had felt these signs, spiritual signs, always as a child. And at what point did you, per se, come out of the spiritual closet and start sharing your gifts? And what has your family and friends done in reaction to this?
Yeah, no, I love that question. So I was actually raised very Catholic, like strict Portuguese, very Catholic, Catholic elementary school, Catholic high school, church every Sunday. So being raised in that environment, heaven, hell, good, evil, there was a lot of fear surrounding it. I used to see ghosts or spirits, whatever you want to call it, as a child. And I remember the first experience I have that I remember like running to my mom and crying because I was so fearful, told her what I saw. They believed me because coming from a religious background, they did believe in that stuff. However, it was fear. Do you know what I mean? Because of that, I was so, so, so fearful of the paranormal world. And I blocked it out for years because of the fear, but I was always very sensitive to it. And even though I blocked it out, I was very drawn to it my entire life. I thought mediums were the coolest people in the world, but I just assumed everybody thought that. Little did I know it's because I am a medium, and I just needed some development and some guidance to hone it, to understand it. But I blocked it out for a long time. And then as I started getting older, that pull toward it never went away because it's what I'm here to do. I truly believe it's what I'm meant to do. So the universe kind of, it's like whenever you feel a pull towards something, it's for a reason. Listen to it. I always tell people that. So I started exploring it more in my 20s, my early 20s. I would watch YouTube videos about it. I'd get the pick a card readings done on YouTube all the time, just stuff like that. And I guess, so my family always knew that I was sensitive in a way, like they knew that I could feel energies and they knew I was able to see things, and I still do see things now. I'm a little different than when I was younger, but I'm still very much so aware. And I guess I really stepped into it this last year, if I'm being honest, like more so than ever, because I went through the past few years have just been, I want to say a nightmare in a little bit, in a way, similar to a lot of people. The collective energy the last few years have been tough for a lot of people. And specifically, like for me, this last year, big life changes. I was living with a boyfriend of mine. I was in a master's program for counseling because I knew I wanted to get out of teaching. I didn't know how. I got my personal training certification. So I was doing all these things to try to get out of teaching. I was trying to do the right thing, quote unquote, the right thing, the thing that wouldn't be judged. And then me and my boyfriend broke up. And I was like, instead of sulking, instead of letting that take over me, I was like, okay, clearly this is happening for a reason. This is my time to step into who I am and get to know myself on a deeper level more than I ever have before. I mean, I thought I was going to marry him. Do you know what I mean? So when I truly thought that was it for me. I thought that I was going to be a counselor, this and that. So again, and I mean, I let myself feel. I think it's important to let yourself feel those emotions. Let yourself feel. I let myself feel when I needed to. I let it pass through me, but I focused on myself selfishly. And through that, I ended up dropping out of the master's program. I really stepped into just who I am. I quote unquote came out of the closet, because I'm like, who cares? I spent so much of my life giving, and the only person I didn't give to was myself. So I'm like, this is my time to be selfish, what we were talking about before. And going through that myself, I realized how important it is. And I was like, I don't care if people judge me. I don't care if my coworkers judge me. I was just authentically me, and I really started putting it out there, and my life changed. I mean, I ended up moving. I ended up quitting my job. Like, I'm doing this full time now. And so this last year is really when I fully embraced it, when I fully just said, screw it. I'm going to be myself authentically, and I'm not going to care about the judgment. I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm not going to let the fear hold me back. And it's really kind of put me on this trajectory of I'm in a different timeline, I say, because I could have stayed in that other timeline where I was still teaching this and that. But I told myself, I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. This is who I'm supposed to be. Yeah, people are going to judge, but I don't care. I'm happy doing this, and that's all that matters.
It's like you stopped living through everybody else's expectations. And isn't that the most freeing thing you could do for yourself?
100%. And I stopped trying to prove myself to my parents. You know what I mean? Because that's a big thing. Yeah, I'm turning 30 this year, but there's that little kid inside of me that didn't get that validation when I was younger. I was still constantly trying to get that validation, like the master's program, for example. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd be a good counselor, like it'll get me out of teaching. My boyfriend will approve of it because it's a good, stable job. My parents will be proud. Is it really what I wanted to do? No. So I said, screw it. Instead, I did something that everyone thought was crazy, and I quit my job for something that who knew if it was going to work out or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just following what feels good in the process. And it might be scary and it might be unknown, but it's like putting that investment into yourself is something that you will never look back and say, why did I do that?
Yeah. I watch these videos sometimes of, people asking elderly people like advice. And one of the common key things a lot of them say is, I wish I took more risks. Even people with work or this or that, they're like, take more risks. Don't be afraid. Do what you want to do. Be selfish. That's one of the biggest things that they say. And it's like, listen to that. They've lived through it. Listen to it, because you don't want to have that same feeling. Not saying you should regret anything in life, you know what I mean? But you get what I'm trying to say. Like, take those risks, take that extra week off of work so that you can go traveling, this or that, or quit your job. Like, I know people who are working at a job. It's not what they want to do for forever, but they're working at the job because they're making money instead of traveling. They're like, oh, I need to save for this or that. I'm like, when you're older, are you going to regret not going? Not going to regret taking that trip. What you will regret is staying in a job that's making you miserable. That's my take, at least. So
100%. I had an opportunity to go on a bucket list trip to Switzerland, and financially, I was like, how can I do this? I have a family. I have to take care of them. And it was the most life-changing, spiritual, soul-filling trip that I've ever taken. And it's like, I came back. We're still able to pay our bills. Like, we're still able to do all these things. I experienced so much spiritual clarity. I experienced so much luxury than I've ever had in my life. And I think the universe was like waiting for me to just kind of be like, stop trying to control things and just kind of flow. And it was just like a spiritual lesson for me. So yeah, do the things.
Do the things. And I tell people, when you think of an idea or something like that comes in and you get that initial excitement, that exciting feeling like, oh my gosh, that would be such a good idea. Or, oh my gosh, yes, I want to do that. Within a matter of seconds, the logical human brain comes in and says, oh, well, you can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. That excitement, though, is your soul talking to you. That's your soul pushing you in a certain direction. It's the human mind, the logical mind that suppresses that. Listen to your soul, because the more you listen to your soul, the universe will provide. They will have your back. So don't fight it. Let it flow. And
definitely. And kind of taking it back to human design, everybody has their authority, like how they should make decisions, and not one human design is supposed to make decisions from their mind. It is not allowed in human design. We have this energetic circuitry. So for your circuitry to be lit up, for you to be the best version of yourself, you use that authority. I know you said that you had someone on your podcast, but a little bit about your authority is just being emotionally clear before making decisions. All it is get through the storm. You know, you might know intuitively what you need, but it's maybe waiting because you have that sacral that's lit up. And so you know in your sacral if it's the right decision. It's just maybe getting through that emotional storm, excitement or turmoil, and then being able to make that decision. My husband has his emotional, and he always needs time to think about it. And now I realize, knowing his human design, like he's built that way. We're not supposed to make decisions with our minds. No one is. So.
No, I always tell people that's the human. Like we're so much more than human. We're human right now because we're here for this experience, but we're bigger than that. We're more than that. And don't let your human self kind of keep you in a box. Remember that you're more than that.
Yes. Yeah, I see so many people can't make decisions. They're like, oh, this or that. And I'm like, oh, if you just knew how to utilize your human design, you would really be able to like empower yourselves to make the right decisions for yourself.
Right. It's being indecisive.
Like, I see it from afar and I'm like, come on, you know, be open to knowing your human design. I swear it will change your life. It changed mine. So, and that's why I say is like using your authority just elevates your intuition. It helps you make those decisions a little bit better.
Right. She did mention to me that I am emotional first, so like sit through it and then and it's true, like what's thinking back to like how I do things like and oftentimes like I do, you know, intuitively know, but I need to just kind of give it a couple days for things to kind of, I don't know, the fog to clear or like the emotions to clear because I'm all water. I'm all water. Yeah, like my sun, moon, rising, all water. Majority of my birth chart is water. I'm very emotional, like very, very much so. So I'm exactly like that. I feel all these things and I'm like, okay, let it process, let it sit. And then I go through with whatever it is that, you know,
go on those walks,
decision.
Do some journaling, do those things to kind of connect. And then it also kind of goes into your profile. You're the selective networker. So one, you need alone time, probably to process those things. And you're here to follow what feels good to you. But you also have a need for expansion and deep wanting to share your knowledge with your community. So I feel like you're doing that. When I see what you're doing on TikTok, you are, again, like I know so many people in the spiritual world are like intuitively living their design without actually knowing what it is. So I'm just here to tell you that you're following it and you're doing it. And, you know, a lot of it is, I feel like in human design, it's like once you connect with your intuition, you can intuitively see, how can I use this?
And yeah, like for me, you know, like I said, I don't know too much in detail about my design, but I do listen to my intuition. But that's something I'm more so tapped into, you know, recently in a way. And like you said, you can get a head start on that. If you're not quite there yet, learn about your human design because it's interesting. They're very much so intertwined.
Yeah. It was one of the first things I found when I started my spiritual awakening. And it just made me feel seen and heard. And I was like, wow, I'm built this way. Why am I trying to be something I'm not? And so I feel like a lot of people, if they're depleted in their life, maybe if they looked at their human design, they would maybe see how they could get that energetic circuitry back up and going again.
Say never compare yourself to anyone else because we are built very different. Our realities are very different. So you know, go easy on yourself. If one thing works for someone and you're like, why is this not working for me? Maybe it's not supposed to work for you and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think courses and things are very helpful, but there's like this downside of like, this is how you do it. And it's like, well, that maybe worked for you, but not everybody can do this. You know, like I feel like as a manifesting generator, I'm like, ooh. Like I don't go in a linear fashion. Like I might start at the end and work my way up. So a course is good for me, but like I might not follow it the way someone intended me to.
Right. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
I just wanted to chat about your strategy because I feel like a strategy is how you can take aligned action towards your goals. And so that is waiting for something to respond to. So the best way to describe this, I will say that my husband gets so frustrated when he's like, "What do you want for dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "That's not how you ask me a question. You need to say, do you want A, B, or C? Then I can tell you." So it's kind of waiting for those options to come to you. Or if you're like, "I want to take a course. I don't know which one to take." And then you kind of let the universe present these options for you. So you're waiting for it to be presented versus searching endlessly for what you want. Does that
Do you
make
know
sense?
what? That's so funny because that's me to a T. Like even down to like going out with my friends, like watching a movie, for example. Like, what do you want? I'm like, you pick 3 options and then I'll pick the one from there. Do you know what I mean? I'm very much so like that. So that's very interesting that you say that because wow. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like wait for that thing to be presented to you, and then you
Yeah.
kind of tap into your sacral, see what it feels like. And
Mhm.
then once you get a yes, if you're going to make a decision that might impact those around you,
Mm.
you need to inform them so that they can
Mhm.
either 1, stay out of your way, or
Mhm.
2, step up to support you. And that's how you take
Right.
action. So it's just kind of
Interesting.
letting them know, like, this is what I'm doing. Join me. Get the
Yeah,
fuck out of my
or
way.
get out of here.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so interesting. I am very much like that too with like decisions I make. Interesting.
Yeah, think about that. See how it goes. Yeah, so I would love if you're up to just doing a mini reading for me or the listeners.
Sure. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do a reading for you. Let's see what wants to come through. Okay. So I'm getting chills. Right away, I want to talk about, we have the Hanged Man coming through. Things might feel maybe a little stagnant for you right now. Like maybe you're wanting to go in a direction. Things might be seemingly a little slow in a way. I want to talk about career. I feel like this could be career-wise, but I want to say there's a new opportunity coming, or there's something new coming. There's going to be change. We have the Ace of Pentacles coming out here. So there's a new offer coming in, or something coming in that I want to say is going to start. The Ace of Pentacles is like a seed. You want to plant the seed and you need to wait for the seed to kind of grow, and you need to water the seed. But we have a seed here. So things I want to say are going to start moving for you. If you're feeling a little, I don't know if stagnant is the right word, but slow, maybe you're wanting things to happen more faster than maybe what they are. But what do we have coming through next? So what I just heard, we have Queen of Cups coming through reverse. So I want to say like maybe there's a sense of like you not feeling good enough. Maybe that's why, like, am I good enough for this? Maybe I don't want to say that's why, but there's a sense of like, because things are slow and not coming in as quick, don't put that on yourself. Okay, it's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of you. So know that. And you care a lot. I want to say you deeply care. You've got emotions. I mean, we all have emotions, but I feel like you're an emotional person. You care. You have empathy. You want to do good. And you need to know you are good enough. You are, like you're capable of this. But there's a sense of releasing a little bit. A 4 of Swords coming out reverse. Like trust that the universe has a plan here. Okay, there's a plan at play. Continue taking care of yourself and continue just following this joy, and don't stress, even if it's not coming as fast as you want it to come. 6 of Cups here. So this is indicative of like childhood or the past in a way. So maybe this is something that you've been wanting for a while. We have the Hermit coming out, 3 of Wands reverse. I'm going to pull one more card with that. Or there's been a lot of reflection of you as a child. We have the Hermit coming out with the 6 of Cups. So like I said, the 6 of Cups has to do with like the past, childhood. So maybe you're unlocking a lot of things from childhood right now. Or there's something here where you're learning about your inner child. Let your inner child come out to play more. Don't be afraid to let your inner child come out to play. There's introspection that has been happening on a deeper level. So continue that. 3 of Wands coming through reverse. Again, there's movement here. We're going to have movement. It's like, but I really feel like you want to know where you're going. You want more answers. The universe is not going to give you those answers. Okay. They're like, don't worry, movement's going to happen, but we're not going to tell you how it's going to happen. 2 of Cups popping through at the bottom of the deck, and then Death card coming through as well, and the King of Cups. So wow. And the Knight of Cups and the King of Pentacles. Wow. Okay. There's a lot coming in. This is Two of Cups, divine counterpart energy. But what I'm getting from this, it's more so like your soul is on this path because it's what you're meant to do. And it's one of those things. What I'm getting is you want to build, I'm getting chills. You want to build a solid foundation. You don't want that overnight success because there's no solid foundation there. It's going to happen slowly and with time so that you have a solid foundation. So be patient, okay? Because sometimes that overnight stuff, it's like the 15 minutes of fame type of thing. I'm not saying you're doing this for fame, but you get what I mean. You know, it's like you're wanting it to come faster. It's not coming faster because the universe is like, we need solid foundations here first. It's slow and steady wins the race type of an energy here for this situation. But we have a new beginning here with the Death card. It's like an ending and a new beginning. And this new beginning, King of Cups, Knight of Pentacles, King of Pentacles. There is so much financial security in this. And there's so much, I'm getting so many chills. And there is so much emotional fulfillment with this. Oh my gosh, I literally have chills all over my body right now. And then with the Knight of Pentacles, it's like it's going to present itself. Things are going to come in. Opportunities are going to keep coming in. So keep letting your inner child play. Keep diving into like whatever past traumas you need to kind of work through. I mean, healing is a forever journey. You know what I mean? Especially from childhood. There might be even more things that, you know, you're unlocking from childhood. So continue down that path. That might be something you're focused on now or have been. There's like an energy surrounding that there that I want to talk about. So keep doing that because you're going to learn even more about yourself. Continue like nourishing that inner child within and just know that there is shift here that and it is coming. It just might feel like it's a little slow, but there's a reason for that. Any questions about any of that?
No, like I was about to start bawling during all that. Like it just feels so resonant. Like I started to tear up, and I also pulled the Six of Cups. I do feel like that inner child, this thing that I was talking about, it's crazy how much it's feeding my inner child. And I feel like it has a connection to my dad, and my dad has passed away. And like I felt this like connection to him in this like possible new journey. And so, yeah, thank you so much for that. That was
you're welcome. Yeah. No, I'm getting chills. Yeah. That's beautiful. Just like all you need to know is there's definitely a lot of, I want to say abundance. Abundance is subjective, but we have material and emotional abundance here. We got both. So it's enjoy the process. It's coming. It's not going to happen overnight, but you're on the right path. So trust it is what I want to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love all your gifts, and I would love for you to tell the listeners about your podcast, your YouTube, and how listeners can connect with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I started a podcast just this summer, and I also just started my YouTube channel this past summer. So those are relatively new, but my podcast is Para Not So Normal. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then I post it on my YouTube as well. On my YouTube, I do readings. I do like collective card readings. I do pick a card readings as well. And then I also do readings daily on TikTok. Those are shorter, faster readings. You could follow me on Instagram as well, just to kind of, I post like podcast clips on my Instagram and then just like my day-to-day on my Instagram. All of the links for all of those can be found on my website, which is brittany-readings.ca. So everything is linked in there. So just go to my website and it's easy to find everything. That's basically it. I'll definitely would love to have you on my podcast as well in the future, as we talked about before. But yeah, I guess the easiest way to find links to all of my things is my website. And that's where you can also book a private one-on-one tarot oracle card reading with me. The readings I do one-on-one they're 20 minutes. So they will be, a little longer than this. You could set an intention if you want like a love reading or a career reading, or if there's a situation going on and you're seeking some guidance, or the way I did the reading for you, just kind of leave it open and whatever wants to come through can come through. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out my website.
Yeah, and I will make sure all of her links are in the show notes. And I just want to appreciate you coming on here. And again, I'll keep watching you on TikTok because I love your energy. And thank you so much for coming on.
No, well, thank you so much for having me. Great conversation. And I'm looking forward to having you on my podcast as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. If this was your first time, welcome. And if you've joined me for previous episodes, I appreciate you so much. Before you go, could you share my podcast with a friend, Those few seconds make a huge impact on my podcast, and I would be grateful for the support. I absolutely loved this interview with Brittany. I loved how vulnerable she was with her experience on showing up on social media and just how she's gotten to where she's at. Sometimes we have a different perception of someone's experience, and so her being open and honest, I really appreciate those kinds of conversations. I'll have all of her links in the show notes for her YouTube, her podcast, TikTok, and Instagram, so check that out. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll chat soon.